Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Happy New Year. I wish you all a very fulfilling 2020. I wish you the very best in 2020. I hope it started on a good note for you all. And if it didn't, not to worry, it can only get better. So I'm so excited to be back again on Finding Help with Special Needs. Once again, my name is Lola Aneke, and I'm so excited to be back so that we can all unlearn, and relearn on everything that had to do with special needs special needs and inclusive education. So while I was during the holiday, I I don't know if I'll call it a coincidence, but I most of the discussion I had was on inclusive practice or inclusive education, and some of the stories I heard were not too pleasant. So I thought to give it a deep thought and see the best way I can come up with something that will be beneficial to us all as parents, caregivers, teachers, school owners, and everyone working with children, with therapists, analysts, and every one of us working with children with special needs. And the title for today's program is Inclusion Trend or Trouble. So, like I said earlier on, and like I always do, most of my interactions with parents and school owners and teachers is what bring about the topics that I dish out every week. And from my analysis of the discussions that I've had and the challenges that parents and teachers and school owners have put to me, is that a lot of school owners, a lot of parents, we have the wrong expectation and we have the wrong um, belief of what inclusion should be or what inclusive practice or inclusive education should be. And I realized that a lot of people, they misunderstand the difference between integration, mainstreaming, and inclusion. So today, like the topic says, inclusion, trend or trouble. And the reason I put that topic that way is that sometimes with good, lots of good intention, a lot of people, school owners, a lot of teachers, a lot of parents want to have children living with special needs in their schools. A lot of parents want their children to go to inclusive schools, but from the onset, the expectation have not been set or put right. So, from the part of the service provider and the part of the receiver, which is usually the parent or the guardian, there's really no proper explanation as to what the expectation should be. So, I thought to first explain what integration is, what mainstreaming is, and also what inclusion is. When I finish with that, I'll explain the various aspects of inclusion, how to prepare for inclusion, and how to ensure that you are running an inclusive school. Now, integration simply means, as the word to integrate, means that you're bringing children with special needs into a mainstream setting. So, which means you want children with special needs to learn with children without special needs, or you want children with special needs to learn with neurotypical students. Now, one thing about that, it's a very good one because the truth is that it's also a process towards a practice towards inclusion. But what that means is that you just want these children to learn with neurotypical children in the same setting. So they are able to socialize, they're able to they have access to the same curriculum that children without special needs have, which is a good one, really and truly. But we need to be very clear on the expectation. So when you are integrating, it simply means I'm taking this child to a place where he can learn like his or her neurotypical needs. So the child has access to the curriculum. Now, mainstreaming itself means that these children are learning with other children. So integration is a process of ensuring that they are integrated. So which means they probably were in a special day school before, or the level of severity is not that much. Maybe it's a mild one where the children can learn, or it could be that the child has a physical disability, probably a part of the arm or a part of the leg, or the level of severity of the disability is not much. Therefore, the child can be integrated into or a regular school or a mainstream school and the child can learn like every other child, which is good, like I said earlier on. Now, mainstream, the difference between mainstream and inclusion is that in a mainstream school, um, you do not really you do not adjust things for the children. It's expected that they can meet certain needs. So before they're admitted or before the enrollment takes place or admission takes place, you have done your severe checks. Can this child write? Can this child read? Can this child socialize? Can this child do everything that his or her mate is able to do? Even with the fact that the child is living with special needs. And let's not forget, like I said, special needs could be mild, it could be moderate, or it could be severe. So once you see that, it's because our school can take this, we can manage this. There's really nothing special we need to do. We don't have to accommodate or modify anything for this child. We expect that the child will learn like every other child. So we're able to take the child in. And that's what mainstreaming is all about. We're not going to do anything differently. We expect that the child will learn like every other child. We expect that the child will be in class and can sit in class for a minimum of one period. It could be 30 minutes. The child will go to write like every other child. The child can see the blackboard. The child is ready to flow with everything. Our routine in my classroom. I don't have to do anything special. That's what it means. So it's either the child according to some form of class readiness from a different place, and the child is now ready for my classroom. So I'm teaching every other child. I'm teaching the child like every child. Of course, yeah, you can decide that this is what I want to do in my classroom. The child is coming in, I'm not modifying, I'm not accommodating anything. Every other issue to do what other people are doing in the classroom. Now, the difference is that inclusion is not like that. Inclusion means that we're going to modify, we're going to accommodate, the child is not leaving my classroom for anything. Everything will be done in this classroom. The speech therapist will come into the classroom. We'll give the child extended time if you need extended time. The child will get a scribe if you need a scribe. The child would need physical therapy, it will be done in this class. I will modify the curriculum. The child's scheduling and timetable will differ from every other person. So every child is individual. The child is an individual. There's an IEP for that child. There's the timetable for that child differs. There are times that the physical therapist will come in and the child will have his physical therapy session. There are times that occupational therapist will come in and have his session with the child. There are times that the person, interpreter would come in, a sign language interpreter will come in. So there's collaborative consultation taking place between the classroom teacher and the relative service providers. Because some of the questions and the complaints and the heartbreaking situations I get is that, oh, I wanted an inclusive school for my child, and this school said to me that they are practicing inclusion, and then my child is just in the school and they're not doing anything about my child's learning. The child is just there because mainstreaming is what exactly the school is practicing, integration and mainstreaming. So your child is coming in to be mainstreamed with every other child. The expectation that is given to every other child is given to that child. The teacher does not have to do anything special. But remember that inclusion and what education should be, every child is different. What inclusion does is that it benefits everyone. So you understand the child's style of learning. You understand if the child needs to you need to give the child lesser I mean you should have like shared assignment or assessment for the child. If the child if you need to help the child to present what he knows, and if you need to present what you're teaching to the child in a particular way, or the child had to show the way it learns, so there's a way presentation and expression, that's what I'm trying to say, is different. So most times when school owners say we are an inclusive school, let's be very careful what we say we are offering. If you say you are a mainstream school, it means that you can have this child with special needs in your school, but you're not going to go out of your way to have a speech therapist or a physical therapist or an educational therapist or anything special you're not going to do. It means that the child can cope in your school with minimal support. Okay, so you can decide that if every child learns for 30 minutes, the child is going to learn for maybe 25 minutes. You could do a little bit of accommodation, but it's not totally everything. So sometimes some people, I read an article on Facebook the other day that a teacher was saying, or someone was saying that, oh, inclusion is not about just having the children in the classroom and then making them not do academic work. It's not about them just doing bidding and sorting and some other activities, and they're not learning academically. That is not what inclusion is. And that also is not what mainstreaming is. Mainstreaming means my child can do things to a certain level. Our school is willing to have that child come in and let's see how we can help the child to learn academically. Okay, it's not about having the child to come in into your school and then the child is beating while others are learning, and then the child is left to cry, left behavior management is not taking place. So your school is already functioning as it should function for mainstream streaming, and then you're having the child come in and learning with other kids. The child can write, the child can type, can do things. You do not have to do anything special to ensure that the child learns. That's what mainstream is. But for inclusion, you have to bend, you have to accommodate, you have to modify. And you can't say you're an inclusive school without preparation. So I want to first address parents right now. As parents, you need to ask questions. And it's okay to ask questions. I know that some of us, most times I was speaking with someone yesterday and said, the attitude we have as parents is, I just want to drop this child somewhere. I want the child to be in school so that I can come back. I drop the child by 8:30. I come back by 1:30. I pick up the child, and the child has gone to school like every other child that I have, or like his siblings. So you're not checking for what the child is learning. There's no progress monitoring. There's nothing. The child goes to school, and then that's where you have issues. When they say to you, you come, oh, it's assessment time. Did my child do anything? I say, I know the child cannot do it, so we didn't do anything with the child. That is not inclusion. That is mainstreaming. Your child is coming to learn with every other child. Now, before we can say that we are an inclusive school, there are certain things that you need to do, which is the truth. Even the special education policy of Nigeria categorically stated that a lot of schools are misunderstanding the concept of mainstreaming and inclusion. So mainstreaming, they're thinking, oh well, we don't have to do anything different. The child can come in, the child can learn, the child will have the same opportunity every other child with that special needs is having. And then during exam, during our assessment or during the end of the year assessment, we also there's nothing different we're going to do. We're not modifying. We are not having any form of accommodation. We do the same exam for the child. If the child passes, all well and good. If the child does not pass, all well and good. All we know is that we have opened our doors to this child. Like I said earlier on, it's not a bad thing. It's also a step towards ensuring that every no child. So if we are not really concerned, and that's where teachers also feel that sometimes they feel guilty when they're not sure of what kind of school they're teaching or where they're employed. They're not sure, okay, this is an inclusive school, but I'm not being trained. I don't know what to do. And then they bring a child with special. I've asked so many questions like that. I'm a teacher. How do I do? There's a child in my class who is special. And my school just brought the child to my class. I don't have any form of training. I don't know what to do with the child. So when you are going to seek employment, you need to ask a question. And knowledge they say it's power. Are we an inclusive school? Are we a mainstream school? If we're a mainstream school, what are the basic things I need to know to be able to have integrate a child with special needs in my classroom? Do I need to do anything special? Do I need to learn about access to curriculum? Do I need to learn about tier assessment? Do I need to learn excuse me excuse me? Do I need to learn about the child multiple intelligence, which every teacher needs to know about? So, and that's why the saying goes that inclusion benefits everyone. So, if you're a regular classroom teacher, a general ed teacher, or a teacher who is in the classroom and a child is brought to your classroom, what are the things you need to know? So, the first place is going back to understanding the kind of school you are serving at, the kind of school you are, and the kind of service that you provide in that school. Is it an inclusive school or is it a mainstream school? Where we have children with special needs and regular ed students, excuse me, in your classroom. So once you know that, you know what to prepare for. There's no surprise, there's no shock. So that's for the teachers. For the parents to ask, my child, this is what my child can do. I don't really need any shadow. I don't need a support staff. I don't need anyone. My child will do well with 30 minutes period. My child will do well with reading, with writing, with everything that the school is doing. So there's a clear expectation and there's a clear communication as to what the school can do. So you, if you're a mainstream school, understand what mainstream is. Mainstream does not involve too many things like accommodation, like modification. There's no need for alternate assessments. It's more like this is what we're doing in our school. You're a fantastic school. You understand everything on a child's learning style. You understand everything about Bloom's taxonomy, the level of how the child can learn, how the child would make known what your presentation, the child level of expression of what he or she knows. Fantastic. The child comes into school, get what he needs, even with special needs. And like I said earlier on, it could be that the child has some level of special needs that it's just a mild case and it doesn't need any support. I've had students at our special day centers where they come to us maybe on a moderate level of special needs, and then we work with them, and then they are on the mild level or almost a negligible level of special needs, and they go into school, into mainstream schools, and they flourish. They do well. I have several testimonies where parents will say to me, "Oh, Miss Lola, if I did not tell that this child had a form of support initially, you wouldn't have known." And that's what mainstream school does. They're able to meet. That means the school is already understand what education is, what good education is, what good educational practice is. They know how to present the curriculum to every child. They know how to, I mean, how to incorporate Bloom's taxonomy, how to incorporate differentiated learning, how to incorporate different aspects. There's proper learning, there's proper, behavior management in the school. Everything is going on well. So that child can easily flow in, understand the behavior, the school-wide behavior management plan of the school, understand the way things run in the school. He understands its curriculum, he understands the expectation, he understands the routine, he understands everything about the school. So once there's everything flowing appropriately, the child just flows in, is integrated in, and it flows with the mainstream school. It's able to do every other child is doing. It's able to take a part in examination, in assessment, midterm assessment. Is able to play like every other child, able to do every other thing like the children, every other child in that classroom or in that school is doing. Then all is well and good. And the parent do not have to say, "Oh, my child was not included." So two things to note is that child might not have any form of severe special needs. It could be a mild special needs, and it also could be that that child has gotten some form of support prior to when it's being integrated and it's being mainstream into the school. So mainstream does not need to bend, or the child has to fit into what is the expectation of the school and the classroom is. But for inclusion, everything changes. The school changes everything for the child. So if you have to move, probably the child literacy, for example, your physical education class is upstairs, and you do not have a ramp or you do not have an elevator in your school, which means the PE class will have to come downstairs for a child who is physically challenged, or a child who is living with autism, and the child probably in that classroom, maybe the child is sensitive to noise. You have to get a noise buffer for that child, and that's what the form of accommodation is. If the child is living with dyslexia and the child needs extended time to be able to process whatever it is that the child is reading, then you have to give extended time in that classroom. And it's not a function of, oh, you are the special needs, and it's not a function of oh, I am the classroom teacher, you are the special needs person. No, because when it comes to inclusion, that we have to work as a team. It's something called the multi-disciplinary approach, where you have the physical therapist, occupational therapist, speech therapist, the regular ed teacher, the special needs teacher, and every other related service provider working together with an individualized education plan. you know so first and foremost, there's an individual education plan, IEP, that all of these individuals come together, do their various assessment of the child when it comes to fine motor skills, gross motor skills, educational needs of the child, physical needs of the child, emotional needs of the child, whatever it is. So first of all, there's a diagnosis of that child with special needs. Then we all who are the relative service provider, who are those that will be working with the child, the parents, the school representative, everyone come together. Then now, based on their assessment of what the child can do, they come up with an IEP. This is what the child would do when it's time to read. This is what the child would do when it's time to write. This is what the child would do when it's time for physical education. This is what the child can do when it comes to reading, when it comes to writing, and all of that. Now, when you've done that, you now come up with an IEP so everyone understands what they're supposed to be doing at what time. You need to know when you need to collaborate to provide support for this child. This is all about the child, because I've seen cases where a teacher will say, "Ah, I have 20 students in my class, then only one child is living with special needs in your class. There's a special needs person, so this is your child, you will plan the child." No, we all work together for the good of the child. It's all about the child. Everything has to change for the child. Things have to move. You have to move. Resources have to move. Classroom arrangement has to move for that child in an inclusive setting. We have to do everything to make sure that the child works. Someone was saying to me about an inclusive school. Well, I was told it's an inclusive school. The pattern of that school is that they want every child, so they have like for um, GS1A or Primary 1A, they have A. In Primary 1, they have Primary 1A, Primary 1B, Primary 1C, and D. And because they have like 20 students in each class, so they have 80 students in Primary 1. So I think every other month or every midterm they change, so they move some students to B and bring some students in class 1B to A, and like that they shuffle them so that all the students get to know one another and have a form of interaction with every child in that for a particular session or a semester, a term or something. And this could add a child with special needs who has issue with social interaction. And I say, if we're an inclusive school, we have to bend that rule. We have to readjust that rule. Because what happened was that they now moved everyone in Primary 1A to Primary 2B, Primary 1B, and brought the children in Primary 1B into Primary 1A. So that child who has issue with social interaction that had been able to interact with at least 10 students, interact properly with 10 students in that Primary 1A, now suddenly comes to the class and then they've changed everyone in our class. For that child, it's not the best way for that child to learn social interaction skills. So the school has to understand that, look, we have children with special needs. What are their needs? If we shuffle and reshuffle the student, which is okay for every other child, will that be beneficial to that child with special needs? And you can still do what you have to do, but you can do it gradually. And that's what inclusion is all about. Now, like I said initially, integration is a fantastic move towards inclusion. Mainstreaming is also a welcome idea because, in all, we are ensuring that no child is left behind in terms of quality education. So we are giving access to curriculum to these children. However, inclusion is a step further. Inclusion means we are here for you. Inclusion means we are able to move, we're able to accommodate, we're able to modify. What I'm trying to do today is just make sure we understand that inclusion is a lot of work, but we can work smart. Inclusion is we're ready to do the right thing and we can take it from one step to the other. Inclusion is that we understand what mainstreaming is, we understand what integration is, but we are practicing inclusion. We may not be where we ought to be yet, but we are on the pathway towards practicing proper inclusion. We are not following the trend, and we're not going to get in trouble by saying we are an inclusive school. Meanwhile, we are practicing mainstreaming. And I would love to just include in conclusion explain a few things we need to do before we can get into inclusive practice, or the pathway to go when we are practicing inclusion. This is beneficial to parents so that when you are looking for inclusive school, you can actually ask questions. It's also beneficial to the teachers and related service providers. You can ask the right question. What phase are you on? What are you doing right now? So that I can flow properly. And then the child also feels comfortable. There's no shock, there's no surprise, there's no we're not ready for this. So inclusion has three phases, and the first phase is the preparation phase, and that I jotted out a few things so I don't forget. Very important point. It involves preparation, so that the preparation stage, it involves policy making, what and what we will be doing, what we will not be doing, where it's going to take place. It's in case there's an assessment, in case there's something going on, what your policy says. Most schools have policy, but let your policy be inclusive. Bear in mind that you are going to be admitting children with special needs. Secondly, you need to prepare all parents, both parents with special needs and parents without children without children with special needs. They need to understand what's going on. That's why you have cases where, you just switch to an inclusive school. You just say your school is an inclusive school, and the parents find out, and they begin to pull out their students, and at the end of the day say, oh, I can't practice inclusion. Anytime I do that, parents pull out their children. No, there are phases to it. So your preparation stage is very important. Your policy must state everything. You need to prepare all parents. You need to prepare all teachers. You need to prepare all the students. You need to let them understand what inclusion is. And when I say preparation, there are different ways you need to let them know what you're going to do. So you have to have your plan in place when it comes to the policies, your plan in place to preparing the parents, your teachers, your students, your curriculum must be well prepared and well rounded for children with special needs. Are you going to modify? Are you going to accommodate? What are you going to do to make sure that these children have access to curriculum? Will it be tiered assessment? Will it be tiered classroom work? What is it going to be? So you have to put all of that in place. When you've done that, then you get to your implementation stage, where you have your instructional individualization. So you have to individualize the instruction. What child A is going to do is not what child B is going to do. What child C is not going to do is not what child E will do. So there must be proper planning. Like I said, hard work, a lot of work, but you have to work smart. Technology is one way to do that. Get yourself a lot of training, get consultants in to help you to make sure that things are properly done, so that you can have a good inclusive school. You have to learn to collaborate with parents. We can't call ourselves an inclusive school and you keep imposing what you want and what your idea is upon the parents. Like I always say, the parents know the child more than you do know their child. As a teacher, as a school, learn to collaborate with parents. And as a parent, empower yourself with knowledge. Don't come in and say things that are not research or evidence based. Know exactly what's going on with the child. It's all about the child. Let's leave this issue of when two elephants fight, the child suffers or the grass suffers. Get good knowledge. The school gets good knowledge. Together you come together, and then you have a good inclusive setting for the child. So parent collaboration is very important. Networking with parents and service providers, with the speech therapists, the occupational therapists, the behavior, and let's work with them. It's not a matter of, a consultant agency comes in and say, we want to come and assess your child, then I will give you someone that will work with your child. That's not inclusion. Inclusion means all of us understand what is going on. Because what usually happens is that when that person is not available, or the teacher person that the consultant has given to you to work with that child with special needs does not come forward to the school, then the child suffers. Nothing happens with the child. But when everybody works together, if maybe the speech therapist is not available at that time, the classroom teacher can improvise and be able to provide service for that child. The TA can be able to do something with that child. So there's a way you guys network together with all of the service provider for the child. And please, one person cannot be the speech therapist, the behavior analyst, and everything for that child. And that's when networking comes up. You all sit together, and somebody can ask, maybe the classroom teacher, everybody understand the behavior management plan for that child. The TA or the teaching assistant understand where his place comes in. The speech therapist understand where his place is. Physical therapist understand, and we all work together as one, so that child can have an holistic. So the child is not child A, one child is child A with the physical therapist, that same child is child B with the occupational therapist, that same child is child C in your classroom. But when you all work together, when you network together, when you share ideas, when you share resources together, then the child is able to understand that this is why I'm with everybody. So there's a place of us all working together to bring out the best in that child. There's a place of also you need to prepare your materials, your technology use, everything has to be together. And that's where the implementation stage is. You have to also know how you manage the child's program, the progress of the child, and all of that. So I've talked about the preparation stage, the implementation stage, and then the place for evaluation and sustenance of the program you're having for the child. So you have to check, is the child making progress or not? They all come together. Is the child making progress or not? If it's not making progress, what do we do? What does the IEP say? Are we doing the right thing we say we will do? Are we following the plan we have in the child's IEP? Are we not? If you're not, what can we do differently? Who is not pulling their weight? What can we do to help and to ensure that the child is getting what he needs in our inclusive school? You want to also evaluate the child based on the child, not um, a non-reference assessment. You want to do a criterion reference. You know when we say that don't compete with anybody, compete with yourself to see how you can make yourself better. You want to check the child. What was this child doing before and it's not doing anymore? What can we do? So you have to have a criterion reference assessment of the child. What can we do different? What are we not doing? What can we do better? So you must always check if the child is making progress, be it in area of fine motor, cross motor, speech, behavior, whatever it is, that imitation skills, whatever it is that we have put in the IEP, we want to check that this child is doing better than he did yesterday. So that you want to check that. You want to be sure that the team out is working together, the multi-disciplinary team. There's no part also, there's no I'm right or I'm wrong. It's all about moving the child forward. So that's where you check your evaluation stage and your sustenance stage. Should we change the program? Should we not? Another thing you want to do is you want to be able to collaborate with everybody, with the working with the child, the parent, the community, the church. What are you doing? Everyone in the community, what are we doing to make sure this child is getting what it needs? The banks, the supermarkets, we're all working together to see that, oh, we've taught the child how to spend money. With the supermarket be open to see if this child can practice what we've taught the child? Will the banks be open to it? Will they be patient enough to help the child to know how to use the ATM? So that phase of evaluation and sustenance is very important. And then the transition stage. This child has now been able to do this. How do you move the child to another stage? And then you see that there's inflow and outflow, and inclusion is getting better. The thing we need to understand is that Rome was not built in a day. You cannot achieve this all in a day, but you need to put pen and paper together and begin to chart the pathway towards inclusion. Wherever you are right now is okay, but you cannot remain where you are. Understand, are you a mainstream school or are you an inclusive school? If you're an inclusive school, you are still in your preparation stage, kudos to you. If you're in mainstream school and that's all you want to do, kudos to you. But we need to understand the difference. We need to understand the various stages. We need to understand where we are. We need to find a way to collaborate. We need to find a way to communicate effectively. We need to get one another involved and ensure that the child gets what he or she needs. As a parent, you need to understand a lot of things. You need to understand the various stages of inclusion. You need to understand what mainstreaming is. You need to understand from the onset what you're getting into, so there's no disagreement. Because most times when it happens that way, all they say to you is take your child to another place, and you don't want that. You want a child to be educated. You want a child to learn. As a teacher, as a service provider, understand what school you're serving, what the school you're serving provides. Is it a mainstream school? Is it an inclusive school? How will these things go and what will it look like? And putting all of this together will do the best for our children with special needs. This is where I'm going to draw the curtain today on this episode of Inclusion, Trend or Trouble. I believe that I've been able to dish out some nuggets that will be beneficial to you. You can leave me questions on under this particular episode, this video, and then I'll answer it in the next episode of Finding Out with Special Needs. I remain yours sincerely, Lola Neki, and I wish you the very best in this second term in 2020, and I pray we all do our best to make sure that children living with special needs and every child get the best they need when it comes to quality education. Thank you so much and have a blessed week. Thank you. Bye bye.